Good afternoon, everybody. Hope everybody's having a great day, and welcome to Universal Furniture. Welcome to the Learning Center. I guess this is officially day 2 of market, so I hope everyone's surviving. If you need some help with that, we have a few things happening here that can maybe get you through the day. Coffee espresso across the hall. We have the Designer's Lounge on floor 1. There's a beauty bar in there if you need a hair touch-up or a libation. And then if you'd like to shop the showroom and check out our collection with Erin on floor 3, please do though. It is amazing. It's all here as well, which was a step in the right direction from last market, so that's exciting. And we also have some great in-stock looks on floor 2 and our special order upholstery offerings with some new selections there on floor 1, including a new collection called Nostalgia. And our special order is also now shipping in 8 to 10 weeks, so that's hopefully a little better than where we've been. If you want to shop, just check in at the front desk, and they'll be happy to connect you with somebody. We also have these little scanners that allow you to actually shop the showroom. So everything in the showroom is tagged. It has the pricing on it, so you can kind of calculate your price, but you can also scan the tag. It'll go into a little shopping cart, and when you check out, you get an email with everything that you scan. So hopefully it just makes your shopping experience easier. So today's conversation on licensing, Erin's going to lead this conversation. We've had the privilege of getting to know Erin. Actually, she was on a panel in this very learning center, and that's how we met Erin. And now we got a collection on floor 3. So, yeah, that's literally how we met. So,
is that going to happen for all of us?
I don't know. We'll see what happens.
That's what she told us.
You just never know. You just never know. You just never know. But Erin, I'll let you take it away. I'll let you introduce our guests and I guess future licensing partners.
Exactly. Thanks, guys. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us this morning. I'm going to try to roll this through. So first, I will introduce our illustrious panel. 2 of my favorite humans here, Josh and Rafi from Form Design Studio, a full-service interior design and product design firm specializing in the creation of bespoke spaces. The studio approaches each commission with a keen attention to detail, resulting in projects that are layered, thoughtful, and evocative. Form Design Studio operates under 2 guiding principles. First, that spaces speak. For a design to succeed, it is imperative that the designer listen. The second is that everything is permissible as long as it is fantastic. A quote that I heard them say to me yesterday, and I was like, yes, this is so good. And then we have the wonderful Matt Sanders from Matt Sanders Design. Matt is a designer, editor, and maker who loves creatively, playfully chic homes that are comfortable, livable, and most importantly, distinctly you. As a home and lifestyle editor, Matt was the creative director for My Domain and a market editor for design super sites Domino and Apartment Therapy. I think all sites we're very familiar with. His collection of decorative art and wall decor with Wendover Art features over 300 titillating works in high-quality frames, and he launched his vintage cool lighting collection with Studio M Lighting this spring. On camera, Matt has starred in the business makeover show Work, Home Made Simple, Best Room Wins, Working the Room, and currently contributes his bite-sized design advice on Pinterest exclusive short-form series, Hype My Home. So a lot of good experience here on this panel to talk about. I always like kind of getting down and dirty into the nitty-gritty of how we actually made these things happen, and the evolution of business I think is really important and exciting to share. So a little about my bio, and then we're going to talk to the panel. I want to show you kind of approaching licensing in reverse. So I have about 7 licensed collections, one of which is with Universal here, Baldwin Hardware, rugs, lighting, etc., accessories. And for me, I really knew that I had to get on camera first. So that was a really important step for my journey, was like building a brand, right? I had no brand. I didn't go to design school. I didn't work for other designers. It was like, who am I? But I knew that media was the key. So 20 years ago, I was like, let's do some sketches and let's put out designs and let's start working, which my ability to hand draw, I think, really led to the ability to convey my designs quickly. And I went out and I was like, holiday decorating segments are the easiest way to get on TV, right? Celebrity holiday decorating, Access Hollywood, Entertainment Tonight. I was like, let's go design someone's home for Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's, whatever, holiday parties. And so that really worked, and it led to me then getting, some media exposure, which led to bigger and bigger and bigger design projects. and then creating my own brand of furniture, which helped because I could hand draw. So I think for me, hand drawing was a really important way to be able to express myself early on. So with that set up, gentlemen, Rafi and Josh, tell me and tell us, as I scroll through some of your stunning projects, kind of what was your journey to get to product design and licensing?
Our journey, I'm Rafi. Hello, everyone. Our journey was nowhere near linear. We both have really diverse backgrounds. The very, very short version of this, I was trained as an actor and then was in the classic stage and then worked in alternative medicine and Eastern medicine for a while. Josh is an Emmy Award winner and was part of an Oscar-winning team and worked in the film and television industry. And when the two of us met each other, we bought a house and on very little money renovated it. And we were, both of us, feeling frustration inside of our careers for a lot of different reasons. And one of my patients was a real estate agent, and Josh was sort of playing with a business card, and we called this guy up and said, okay, we renovated this house, we think it's pretty cool. He thought we sort of tripled the investment, and a week later he called us and said, I have a client for you. And he gave us a budget, which was tiny, and asked us to help his client sell his house, and that was the first project that we did. So he hired us a bunch, and then in the conversation of media, that really helped us. We got some media attention pretty early from some work that we did from apartment therapy, which just kind of snowballed at that time. So that's how our design firm launched. And then I think it was, our first license was a year or two in, right? We met a rug vendor with whom we were working quite a lot. And we just talked to them about some custom designs for some projects we were working on. And the idea came to us, well, what if we tried to market these things together? What if we made them together and then sold them?
Well, they had actually already sold a container of the design without telling us.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
We,
I forgot that.
we at the beginning, because we used to call ourselves rogue designers, because we also did not have training. And we were, I mean, I had grown up, my father was a developer, so I was always around architecture and design and development, but it wasn't something I considered really as a career, because strangely, when you're in a family business, you don't necessarily think of it for yourself. But so we had background and we had experience in things related to design, but we were just kind of making it up as we went along. And frequently, the beginning of our projects, the budgets were very tight, and so we were not able to work, and we couldn't go to design centers, and we couldn't put things together the way that we do now. And so we'd come up with ideas that our clients really didn't have the budget to spend. So we had to, luckily, being in Los Angeles, there are a lot of really wonderful makers, and we were able to then design our own products, find people down the street or go knock on doors and get people to make things for our projects. So we were doing product design from the very beginning. And then this rug company happened to like one of the pieces enough to go out and try to sell it without asking us. And then once they had sold it, they said, well, we should probably do a collection and officially license this.
Because it works.
Because it worked.
It works.
And that disappeared because that was 2007. And in 2008, 2009, the sort of stratum of the business that they were running in which our collection lived, it evaporated with lots and lots of things. The company's still around and wonderful, but that stuff disappeared. But we got the bug. And like you, we do a lot of our own drawing. So we love hand drawing and we love working on the computer. So that's really a luxury for us. We find that to be some of the most therapeutic part of our insane jobs.
But I'd say the way that we got to the licenses that we have today was all relationship. And it was just going in, coming to markets, going in, meeting the owners of the company, developing relationships, buying from them when we could, talking about the things that we were missing that we couldn't place in projects, and then ultimately coming with a program with a pitch and an idea to say, hey, this is missing. We really love working with you. We think we could bring something to the table that you don't have. And then there was already a trust and an inherent nature built into that relationship. So all of our licenses were built on relationship.
Matt, tell us about your journey into design and product. Did you have licensing on your mind early on? Because I certainly knew I did. I was like, I want to get there, and I need to put all these pieces in place to get there. How was your journey?
I think like most people that get into design, I followed a path, a very windy path that led me there. I didn't think I'd end up in the design space whatsoever. I moved to New York and I was doing set styling. which was kind of design adjacent.
Yeah.
But apartment therapy was also very critical in helping push me formally into the design space. I had a tiny little 250 square foot apartment in the West Village. And I had just moved to New York fresh out of college. I had no money, and I just decorated it with things that I found at garage sales and flea markets. And for some reason, I'm from Florida, and so I love a nautical theme. And so I gave it this over-the-top nautical aesthetic, and it was this tiny little apartment that was kind of loopy and crazy, but a little chic. So it was like Ernest Hemingway meets Pee-wee's Playhouse. And it ended up, I submitted it to Apartment Therapy's Small Cool contest this was in 2005. And it didn't win, it made third, but then it did win big in the end because it ended up being on the cover of their big book of Small Cool Spaces, which ended up being a bestseller. And they said they picked my apartment for the cover because in one picture you could see a living room, a kitchen, a bedroom, and an entryway. So from there, I started freelance writing for Apartment Therapy from sheer passion. After doing that for a while, they ended up hiring me as their market editor. So then I was officially in the space. I was on the beat. I was attending parties. I was getting sent Dyson fans and Swiffers, and I was like, this is the best job ever. It was the wild, wild west back then. Magazines did not have websites. It really was, we had Apartment Therapy and Lonnie, and that was it. And Domino magazine had folded during the recession, and they were looking to bring it back. And I was really lucky that they plucked me from Apartment Therapy because they needed someone that knew about writing about interior design, but also building community online. And Condé Nast, for as big as they were, had no idea how to do that. And so I was really fortunate to be on the small team that helped relaunch Domino magazine to what it is. And while I was working on that project, a fashion website in Los Angeles called Who What Wear, which was a shoppable fashion. They took street style photos and made it shoppable, which again, sounds not special now, but back then no one was doing it. And they wanted to start a home decor site with the same sensibilities. So they were kind of like, who in the United States of America knows about interior design, shoppable content, and building communities online? And it was a wild, wild west. There weren't many of us. And I got plucked and brought to Los Angeles to start that project from the ground up, which was super exciting. And the differentiation with that project was that it had a celebrity focus. So very LA, they wanted to have exclusive home tours of celebrity projects, which back then was absolutely impossible because celebrities were only giving their homes to Elle Decor and Architectural Digest in print. So my job was to run around town, first of all, build this website from the ground up, lead the editorial, and build a whole team.
No small feat.
But also beg and borrow and steal from the brands that I have had partnerships with as a market editor, and then also schmooze managers and agents to get them to let me, if I could make over a room in someone's house, will you let me shoot their room for this website? Celebrities love getting things for free, so it actually wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be, and it really pioneered that whole game of gifting home products to people in order to kind of get them to sit for a photo. So we launched with, I was designing. That's how I started designing, accidentally, for Jessica Alba and Leah Michele and Nicole Richie, just in these girls' houses, making over single rooms. And then they would ask me to come back and, I have this other house that I want to renovate. Would you do this, or would you do this other room for me? So then I was running a decor website and moonlighting as an interior designer. And I was like, I kind of like actually doing the design better. So I made the tough decision to switch careers and actually go into interior design, which sometimes I wonder, was that the right decision to make? And through that process, like you guys talked about, in California especially, we're so fortunate to have these incredible fabrication capabilities right at our fingertips. So everything, if you live in California, you're just custom making everything all day long. So, my education into designing furniture and product really came from organically designing for my clients as I started to build my business. And I did have a furniture collection at one point, a very ambitious furniture collection of case goods and upholstery. and materials of glass and metal and fabrics. And it was like 40 different pieces that I launched all at one time. And I would never try to do that again because it was a logistics nightmare I had on my hand. The sales portion of that was something that was just like an immense undertaking to take on. And it was a really good lesson to learn of, okay, I really love the product space, but maybe, if I'm interested in growing my brand as a name and really having my name on a lot of different categories, I think it's all about partnering with brands and people that can really help do the heavy lifting and bring your vision to life. So I decided that licensing was really the strategy for my business moving forward.
Yeah, nice. And let's talk about, we're going to show some of your collections, and I'd love to hear about, how those deals came to fruition and also the inspiration for some of the lines. But how about the ones that didn't work, that didn't happen? I mean, obviously you mentioned, early on that rug company that kind of started without you, and then, I've had many a contract signed that goes nowhere, or you start designing and you do a ton of work for free. They don't pay you up front either, which is something I think that's really
I
important.
heard that Universal does.
Huge checks. Huge. You get very little if you're lucky up front. And typically my experience has been you work for years for free with this brand who's also working, right, with you and putting themselves on the line. And maybe it'll happen. I had a mirror line I designed for, and then they just decided, no. A lighting line that came to market without me.
Yep.
And I was like, oh, this isn't done. That's not good. Quite a few, it's a long, hard road. I think you really have to love it, and you really, really need to love product and stick with it. My mantra is kind of it's the person that doesn't stop is the one that gets to the finish line. And, if you let all these little failures along the way dissuade you, that's, you can't be a pushover when no comes around, because it's happened many, many, many times. And a lot that I've also, made $2,000 on after 3 years of work. And I feel like it's, a lot of people look at licensing and think it's a glamorous, easy way to make a ton of money. And it's, very few get to a point where they're actually living off their licensing collections. A Barclay Butera, I don't know that he is, but I'm saying he's got a huge program, right? And I think for me, he's a wonderful man, a good friend, but someone that I looked up to early on in licensing, I want that, or a Barbara Barry, right? Where you think she's gotta be doing great because of the volume of product and the longevity of those collaborations. That's what I'm aspiring to one day. Not quite there yet. Maybe the third floor will be my golden goose. I think so. You should go look it up. It's really pretty. But how about for you all?
I think you've touched on a couple things that are really important in the conversation of licensing. The first is, I think most of the time people don't think of it the way they think of dating, which is a good way to look at it.
It is.
Not all licenses are good partnerships. Not just doing the thing isn't necessarily good for you or for the other person. So you go on first dates, that's great, but you can't just get married. It doesn't work that way. You really have to understand your own business, which I think most people don't when they start their first licensing experience. So you learn a lot about yourself in that process. I think also, as you said, it looks like one thing on the outside.
Yeah.
And it is an enormously long path, and there's a huge investment from all of the participants. So I think it's important to really look at what you're after, and not just, I want to make stuff and I want people to buy it, but rather why? Why do you want to make that thing? What is it about that that's attractive to you? And what is it that you have to say? And then who is someone in the marketplace who might be interested in the same things that you're interested in and might share values? It's really hard to find out that the people you're working with you don't like.
Yeah.
Or you're not really yourself around because you think you're trying to fit into some other thing. You have to really respect and admire the people you're working with, and that has to be mutual. So there are a lot of components, and the excitement of it can erase all of this, right? You go on a first date with somebody you think is really cute, and that cute can make you ignore all kinds of other things that you really shouldn't be ignoring. But you do, and you're like, keep doing this for a while. Right. No, that doesn't work. So in fact, we've had a number of those sort of misses, and some of them after years of work. And sometimes you don't even find out that you don't like the folks until years later they do something and you're like, oh, I missed that you're mean to dogs. Like, how did I miss that? So I think there's a lot of thought that has to go into it, and having these kinds of conversations and talking to folks who are doing it and understanding why they're doing it and what's working for them, what didn't work for them, I think that's a big piece.
Yeah, absolutely. Matt or Josh?
I think, what was the question?
Misses along the way.
Oh, yes. I had a licensing partner that I went on a very long road of signing a contract and going through the design process. And it was interesting. I ended up backing out because in the very beginning, I thought it was like the other relationships that I had where, they have in-house design teams that will really help bring your vision to life. And this category, like I had no business even attempting to do shop drawings for this type of product. I can kind of creative direct the process to the final product, which oftentimes is what a lot of licensing arrangements are like. It really depends on what your experience level is in that category. Yeah. And your technical knowledge of that in terms of how much you're bringing to the table. And I think that's something really important to look for in a licensing partner is like, what is your team like? What are your resources like? And is this even the right fit for me? Am I going to get in this? And I don't have the team resources to create the deliverables and the development that you need. And some I do, and some I don't. But some I have a vision, and their team can bring it to life. We were all in the understanding that we were going to rely on their resources to help, create all of the shop drawings and develop the product. And then I think they got really busy, literally very busy. And all of a sudden they were like, halfway through the process, they were like, we really need your team to be creating the shop drawings, and then we'll edit them as we go. And I was like, I have no business attempting to do this category. It's so technical, and this is not what and they said, well, we need to put this on pause, and we're gonna, push the development to next year. Actually, you know what? We have this other collection that we designed. We just want to put your name on it and push it out because we'd really like to just get it out. I was like, whoa. This has nothing to do with me. This is not my vision. This does not look and feel like me. I think this is not the right relationship for me. And I had to walk away from a very big licensing deal, but it just felt messy. It felt like one of those relationships, like a messy relationship.
Did you get your favorite sweater out of their apartment?
I think that you touch on a really good point. And because of the nature of how we started, and we just did. My former business was a visual effects company. I started when I was 16 years old. Didn't have any training. Hired people who knew things. We built the business together, and I always thought we're going to get found out to be frauds, and we weren't. We were actually just doing things in a unique way that allowed us to be successful. And we've done very much the same thing in our business. We needed to do the drawings. We needed to figure things out. We needed to figure out the engineering because the guy down the street said, "Yeah, I can make it, but you got to tell me how to make it and what it's got to look like." So we've gone into all of our licenses, all our art collection with Left Bank Art. We do all of the art ourselves, just the two of us. In our other projects, we design. Our design team helps us with some of the development, but we go to everything with our own designs, our own drawings, our own custom finishes. So we bring all of that to the table. And one of the things that, if this is something that you're thinking about, and Matt's absolutely right, it's about knowing, going in, being clear up front about who's doing what, who you're looking to partner with. But the thing that we've heard consistently from the folks that we've partnered with is how grateful they are that we've come. Because in the same way, in your business, right, you love the reps and the showrooms that are going to be an extension of your office, that are going to shop for you, you can call up and say, hey, I need a performance fabric in this color, and they know when you say, sage green, they know what that actually is, and not some crazy version of something because they happen to have it in stock and they want you to buy it. Those people are important to you. And so we have become, for the people that we've partnered with, we've become that extension to them, where their design team is already so busy on stuff they're doing in-house or working with other people. And so we've been able to have people say yes to us because we're coming with this, hey, everything's done. Let's just move forward. And frequently, while we always say, we're not engineers, you cannot rely on our drawings, but we do a lot of thinking, and frequently the pieces end up, the shop drawings come back and we say, well, does the factory really feel they can build it that way? And it ends up being done almost very much like our original drawing. So honing your skills, developing all of that so that you can bring, if you want to partner with somebody, you're bringing the package or not, and understanding what you are bringing. I think that's just it's something that people don't think about necessarily when they think about the glamour of going into licensing.
And I think also, Matt talked about this, and you started to talk about it, and Josh is talking about it. Understanding who the vendor is and what their capabilities are is really important. The idea in your head is, I'm going to sketch this chair, and then I'm going to send it to them, and they're going to make it and test it with that machine that's at IKEA, right? That pushes on the seat 375,000 times, and that's how they're going to rate it. No, nobody has that machine. Like, that's not out there. No one has that. Just IKEA, and I think they only have it in that box. There's no crash test dummy that's going to happen to make sure that you didn't screw the thing up, and not just your name is on it, but the contracts you're going to sign are going to make you legally responsible in one way or another for the chair breaking and somebody getting hurt. So you have to really understand what you're getting yourself into. And in our office, in the conversation of the windy path, we lost an employee. She's fine. She's just not working for us anymore. A long time ago. And she was really important to us. And we kind of freaked out. And so we decided we couldn't do anything in our business that one or both of the two of us couldn't do alone. If everyone left us and we were just the two of us doing it, can we keep doing all the things that we're doing? Mm-hmm. Now we have too many things for that to be volumetrically. That's not possible. But in terms of skill set, there's nothing our office does that we can't each do ourselves. Now that's not everybody's firm, but for us it was really important, and that makes us a certain kind of licensing partner for the folks that we license with. And I think you talked about being a brand. That makes you a very particular kind of licensing partner, because the other thing that you really need to think about is not just, I design chair, they make it, we're a huge smash hit. No, they are relying on you to market that thing. They're relying on you to sit up here on the panel and tell a room full of people, go buy my stuff. We're going, I promise.
Thank you.
But building your brand is your responsibility. That's where you come in. They have a sales team whose job it is to do the thing they're doing, not to push your product. So you then need to go to market. So you have to think about, like, how much time do I really have in my life to do this? You have to go to market, and you have to make sure you meet all of the people and tell all of the people and all of the salespeople, this is the inspiration. This is how I came up with this thing. This is why this is important. This is why it's different. This is what makes it meaningful. All of those things over and over and over again. And you have to find the inspiration inside yourself when you're exhausted, 6 days into market, and your feet hurt, to be smiley and happy. And tell everyone, go to Global Views, because we have a new collection of super awesome things there. Lori, please do. So there's a lot to it that's not just, I make sketch, they make chair, it's done. That's the easy part. And the reason it doesn't always work is because there are all of these factors that have to come together to make it successful. Mm-hmm. That's one of the amazing things about working with Erin, is that she's out there. I mean, how many people in this room have not seen her face somewhere and gone, how does she do all of that, right? Like, how is she doing all of that? She's a machine. And I'm sure she's exhausted.
She does not look exhausted.
No, she does not. That's the other piece I
great
really don't
concealer.
understand. So I think there's the technical piece, and and knowing, Matt, as you say, knowing who you are and what you bring, and then understanding what all those components are that have to come together to make it a success.
Yeah. Very well said. Yeah. I think that part of it, though, of thinking about what you're really good at, like for me, furniture's easy. I've been doing furniture for 20 years. It was not good or easy in the beginning. There were a lot of things that didn't fit. Luckily, no chairs broke, but there were chairs that didn't fit around dining tables because they were too big. And there were arms that didn't slide under things, and you really learn very quickly when you make those mistakes, like, oh gosh, I should maybe draw this out a little bit better. Dimensions are everything. But moving into other categories too, like I feel very confident I could do furniture, right? Like no problem. Furniture, love it, understand it, get how it's made, I got you. But like textiles, it's a completely different world, even like rugs or fabrics or different things. It's like, whoa, it's completely different. Lighting, super technical. And picking the right partner is a great point. I went with a partner that I thought had a big team to support the production of said shop drawings. They did not. They wanted them from me. I'm like, I'm not a lighting designer, guys. Like, I'm not. I don't know the first thing about UL listings or lamping or wiring or all the things. I know what light fixtures I like to look at and how I want the light to affect the room, and I can sketch. So I had to go hire a lighting designer and produce all these shop drawings, and none of the product got made. Because they also didn't have an internal team big enough to handle a licensed partner that's now produced 60 shop drawings for them to edit and figure out. All will come and get to the end of it and be like, they're like, all this is with LED. Like, we don't really do LED.
Would have been nice to know up front.
Would have been nice. When I showed you the sketches and we talked about how I wanted it lit, wouldn't it have been nice for you to be like, so that really skinny linear thing that you want that has a little half-inch strip, it's gonna have a 3-inch bulb now. Could you fix that? Yes. Yes, but these are things you don't know in the beginning, right? And they're a big brand, and you're like, great, they know everything. And that was really disappointing. And for years then, you've got like 2 lights that they made, and you're like, eh. So here we are again. But now looking at new partners, I know what to ask for, and I know what works for me capability-wise, what categories I'm good at, and where I need a lot more support. But then also finding one that has the marketing team, right? We've been really focused on the product development side, but to have a partner that has the marketing team, like this one, that gets it, and on their own went and did gorgeous photography, and I was blown away. On their own has a visual team that just knocks it out of the park. On their own does their own marketing and social and campaigns, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just have to show up, is very, very rare. And you can design beautiful product, and they can make beautiful product. I have a beautiful product line at a brand in this town, and they don't know the first thing about marketing it. And so it just sits there. They're like, well, aren't you gonna do all of that? I'm like, I'm not your marketing team for hire. Like, yes, but we need assets, we need photography. Like, are you gonna ship me product to California so that I can shoot it? Like they finally did. So, we'll be getting some good photography, but it's been 1.5 years. So all of those things are important to think about, not to have this be a totally negative naysayer conversation about licensing, but those I think are things that people don't generally converse about. It's all about the inspiration and how beautiful it is.
Well, I think also, and I don't think it is naysayer. I think it's really about filling your bucket with information.
Yeah.
Understanding ROI is another big piece of it, right? Mm-hmm. If you were to amortize the time you put in over the years, right? So, and it's been 1.5 years, then there's going to be some photography, then it's going to get out there, then it's going to take however many cycles for the market to really understand it before they sell a chair, and you get a percentage of the net. So you have to decide for yourselves, okay, I want to get into this. Why? Is this about vanity? Is this about diversification of income? If it's about diversification of income, what are the resources I have to commit, and what is the potential on the other side? So you have to do that math as much as you can up front. It's not easy. It's speculative to some degree, but you need to do that thinking before you really decide I alone, or my team, whatever it is, have the bandwidth to take on a project like that. Would you take on a design project where 3 years later you haven't been paid? It's a good question. Right. Absolutely not. Right.
Yeah. But once you get enough of them going, it can be really nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So let's get into the products themselves. I have Form Design Studio for Global Views on the screen. I was there yesterday looking at some of their gorgeous products, and you guys have furniture, you have rugs, you have accessories, and wall decor with Global Views that's growing. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the initial collection came from actually a failed relationship that was 2 years in the making, 2 years of development, not seeing a few very, very ugly prototypes, and then nothing for 6 months. And we had a phone call. What's really happening here? Oh, we're not doing that anymore.
Thanks for telling
Thanks
me.
for telling us. So at the end of that process, we sat with ourselves and said, what do we want to do? And it was a passion project for us. We went on a sourcing trip for a project in 2014, took ourselves all over Europe and met some people in Belgium that really changed us as as designers and as artists, and the whole trajectory of our firm shifted with those relationships. And so we developed a collection that we had called at the time the Brussels Collection, and it was an ode to those relationships and to those people. And many of the pieces were named after those relationships. And we had developed that for 2 years with this other company, and we didn't want to let that go. So we said, this is important to us. We want it to come out. We want this creative expression to come out, because there is a real beauty in product design that when you're also an interior designer, where you're not designing under the parameters of a client or a project or architecture. You're designing really freely, and you don't get to do that always. So that was exciting. We wanted it, and we said, okay, so let's set our goal. We want it to be with somebody who can actually do all of this, because they couldn't do any of this stuff. And we have all whole home categories, and we have metal, and we have cast pieces, and we have lighting, and we have upholstery, and it was everything. And the only people that we really looked at, but we also wanted it to be accessible. And we looked in the marketplace, and for us, we felt like the only place that was really doing all of those different categories was Global. And the place that we had a strong relationship with David and Frederick and Lois. And so we went in and we just thought, well, this is kind of ballsy. Like, I know everyone goes to them all the time and says, I want a collection with you, I want a collection with you. But it happened to be a really good moment. They had some shifts in their own design team, and they said, let's sit down and have a meeting. And we pitched it, and luckily we had done 3D renders of multiple rooms, and we had all the drawings, we had everything done. So they were immediately ready to start putting it into prototyping. Yeah. And they did. And we had that was in, I think, 2018, and we launched October 2019 with about 84 SKUs, which was pretty remarkable in that time frame. Yeah. And we've been in we were in a development cycle to do things annually, and then because of COVID, we've been like a rolling development cycle. So pieces are continuing to trickle out. We have a new expression coming next summer that will be kind of new colors and a new thought process that will be slightly different. Everything we've been doing so far has been an extension of those pieces, and it's been a really, really rewarding relationship. And the fact that we bring them things, and I thought, there's no way they're going to be able to do this. I'm like, let's give it a shot. And they give us creative control. If we're not happy with something, we won't bring it to market. There's a piece we're doing that we thought felt really original and unique, and then we realized it felt like something. We saw a potter that we really respect his work, and he's in a museum now, and we said, this feels a little bit too derivative of this work, so we're not comfortable putting our name on it. And they said, well, we don't think it's derivative, but we want to put it out there. We'll give you your royalty, we just won't put your name on it. And so it's really wonderful to have that level of relationship where they respect our integrity, the fact that we don't want things, if we attribute something to somebody, we will attribute it in name, and we will reference it. We have pieces inspired by Giacometti that we reference in the naming, but if we don't want to ever feel like we're copying somebody, or we have a beautiful pieced glass work that is inspired by Scarpa's work, but it's our design, our artwork. So they're just a really wonderful partner in that way.
Fantastic. And you have a beautiful art collection with Left Bank Art. How many pieces do you have there?
It's well over 300. I don't know how many it is at this point.
Wow.
We've probably produced over 500 pieces, but pieces kind of trickle in and out if they work or not. But we've been doing that since January 2016.
Wow, amazing. And rugs with Maribon.
A lot of the rugs came from artworks originally, and then we started to think differently about how we wanted to produce them. Mm-hmm. Maribon's a wonderful partner because they have such extraordinary, they have such extraordinary expertise in the space, and you can rely on them for weaving advice. But even with that, we have gone to them differently from some of their other partners in terms of color and direction. It's not so easy, as you guys all know, it's not so easy to color a rug successfully. And the development...
Those palm kits, oh my gosh, so scary.
Yeah.
Well, look at this middle rug. I mean, that was a monster. I think there are 38 colors in there, and that all of the pattern, that the ground is wool, but everything in the center is silk, and it's just realized unbelievably beautifully. It looks like the original painting.
Yeah.
Incredible. Matt, Wendover Art, talk to us about that.
Yeah, so Wendover Art was my first partner, and the process is really, really fun. And like Left Bank, I release every year a collection of like 130 pieces.
Wow.
So it's a lot of work, but we're working in photography, mixed media, and painting, and their team is just absolutely incredible. They have an amazing art resourcing team, and it's kind of like, going back to my editor days and really kind of like curating this collection, because I am not the artist, but we find artists that we license work from that I feel fits a vibe. So I kind of approach every collection by creating these themes that I'm into, and then we kind of develop into these themes. So, I see pieces that I find inspiring. I see techniques that I find inspiring, or just like raw themes. Like sometimes I'll be like, pink clouds.
Yeah.
The season's about pink clouds, and then we figure out a way to bring that to life in whatever medium. And then we work with photographers and we source their work, but we also have an incredible graphic design team that will modify the work. So it's kind of like playing DJ or like mix artist with a bunch of ideas. And it's a super fun collection. It's kind of inspired by like the way I like to decorate with art, which is just like a total mix, like provocative, titillating works, works that kind of like are a little edgy, that kind of are head turning, and that just, you can kind of splash them all up together no matter what the combination is, and it makes a really fabulous gallery wall.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my thought process with designing an art collection, which sounds weird, but what is art?
But that's the practical element here that has to be discussed, right? Like, yes, I can paint and draw, but I don't want to spend 100 hours on a painting or a drawing. Like, that's not the path that I've chosen for myself. And I've looked at doing art categories in the past too, and they're like, well, we can just take your paintings from, your childhood. And I'm like, it's like 5 faces of models that I copied from Vogue, Like, that's not gonna get us very far.
Yeah.
And I don't know that as a designer, I would put that face on my wall of a project. So it's tough,
Yeah.
But I think that's really interesting though, and a wonderful way to approach it. There are so many talented artists out there, right? Photographers and artists that want to spend their time creating, and then you can also curate and then market.
Yeah, it's really a celebration of other artists. It's just kind of like, I think of it like an editor. Like I'm like creating a book every season of like themes and things that I'm into and trends. And they take very good care of the artists that they license from and work with. So I feel like it really is supportive of the arts community, and it's a great machine. It's a great wheel, and it's a fabulous product.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And then Studio M, your lighting. So we were in LA on a panel together that in the showroom, and I got to see all the products. Sorry, it's bright in here and you can't see the photos very well, but definitely go check out all of these collections in person. But I really loved your lighting.
Thank you. Yeah, I think whenever I approach designing into a category, I think like, how do I design with this already? And, art, I love, provocative art, but with lighting, I always go vintage. Whenever I design for clients, I'm just always sourcing vintage lighting. So that was my approach, was design a collection that feels vintage, but also feels like something that you haven't seen before. So again, I think this is my approach to product design. It's like, I think of myself like a design DJ. So I was really bringing together all different kinds of design styles and lighting that I really like, French modernism, Italian modernism, and the 70s, and kind of mixing all of these ideas together and kind of playing Frankenstein with lighting.
Yeah, awesome, beautiful. Okay, great. Well, thank you all so much. Feel free to come up and say hello, and I appreciate your time.